Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining another LeadSquared webinar. You're here with us at the LeadSquared Sales Week. Those of you who joined us yesterday, a very warm welcome back. As you know, this is a four episode week, so we have episodes back to back, right from Tuesday all the way to Friday. With that, let me introduce our second topic of the week, which is about finding the right approach to sales automation in 2022. I have my guest speaker with me, as you can see, who is Sandeep Mohan. He is the head of inside sales at Outplay. Before I dive into this, and before I allow you to speak, Sandeep, a quick set of housekeeping points for everyone who's joined us today. So yeah, I did get so many emails from you all yesterday about the links and how to join sessions. So please remember, every session comes with an invitation link. Click on that link, join the session, and then you will get access to the webinar. Yes, I think Shibani has lost connection.
I thought it was my internet.
Be back soon. Okay, meanwhile, I'll just take it forward. Yes, so as Shibani was saying to the audience, so every single session will have a separate link. So every day we will manually register you and you'll get a link. And for every single session, you can join using your individual link. Please don't share those links with other people. They won't be able to use the same link. They'll have to register separately. Okay, and another thing that I wanted to mention is that yes, we will have a couple of polls that we'll be putting up during the webinar. So please do interact with them. We would love to hear from you. And yes, since this is going to be more of a networking conversational session, we would also want you to ask any questions during the webinar. So if you have any questions, please do put it up on the questions tab or on the chat tab. Okay, I see that Shivani's back, so I'm gonna step backstage. Yeah, over to you, Shivani. Thank you so much, Karthika. You're a lifesaver. Yeah, hi everyone. I am in office, so I'm not sure what happened to the internet. Blame it on the office internet. With that, now let me straight introduce our speaker. So it's Sandeep. He is the head of inside sales at Outplay. So Sandeep, apart from that, please tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. Those who are joining us today may relate to it. Anything at all, anything outside of work also. Anything about yourself, please.
No, thanks for that, Shivani. Hello, folks. I'm Sandeep. I head the inside sales team at Outplay. So I've got a varied background in terms of my professional life. I started off my career with a company called Goldman Sachs. Worked there for quite some time, and then I moved on to start my own venture, which was into advertising. And then I moved on, and then I started off my career in SaaS with a company called Freshworks. And then right now, I'm at Outplay for the last 6 months, heading the inside sales team. So that's just a little bit about me from the professional front. And then I enjoy playing sport. I've always played a sport throughout my school, college, played cricket all my life, and then like to keep myself fit. And yeah, that's just a little bit about me from a personal standpoint.
Sounds great. Thank you. So now I'm going to dive straight to it, Sandeep. So how important is automation in today's sales functions? Let's start with that.
So sorry about that. Fair enough. So that's a good question. Yeah. So let's take a real life analogy. So there have been a lot of functions us as human beings we have done all through our history. So let's take the example of even travel. So let's say maybe 300, 400 years down the line, if you want to travel from point A to point B, it would have been longer. And today, what we have done, we have advanced as a human race, and then we have got a lot of automation. We've got a lot of advancement in travel itself, and then we have shortened the whole time from traveling from point A to point. So similarly, sales as a function, yeah. So today's scenario, we want to get, and numbers is like the example of travel. We want to get from point A to point B. So for that, if we are still not using automations, we would still be slow in our processes, right? It would still be like going back in time and doing things manually and waiting for things to happen. But we are in a fast-paced world. So we need to get things done faster, and that's the expectation from sales leaders. It's a company has investors and everyone who is a stakeholder in the company. So that way, to fasten sales, automations are required. It becomes very, very important to get from point. It helps you get from point A to point B a little faster than what it was a few years back.
Okay. So let's, and I always sort of use this in whatever presentation I'm working or an email. See that, I mean, there are all of these terms that are out there, but a lot of it comes with challenges of its own, right? So in your mind, what do you think are some of the challenges that businesses face with sales automation, and how can one sort of get past these obstacles?
See, one thing that becomes a very big challenge when it comes to automations is first trying to understand what needs to be automated. Even when it comes to sales processes, not everything needs to be automated, right? There are processes and functions that needs to be automated to make sure that you get to your goal faster. But there are certain things in sales as well that still need to be done. That human touch, that manual approach needs to be there to ensure that there are some checks in place and ensure that there is that human element to the whole aspect of sales. Quickly giving an example, let's talk about lead sourcing. Yeah. So even though lead sourcing can be automated to a certain extent, but still understanding what your total addressable market is, that needs to be ensured that you're still working on it. Someone needs to work on it. And even when it comes to calling, today we might have the options of power dialer and all of that, but you still need someone sitting behind the phones, talking to people to ensure that the message is given in a certain way. So like that, you need to understand what needs to be automated and what should not be automated. So identifying that is a big challenge. You can automate the entire sales process if you want in today's scenario. There are so many tools in the market that will help you with that. But will it give you the ideal results? No. So you still need to hold back on certain processes, make sure there is a human element to it, and make sure that those things are not automated in any way.
And if one would have to assess what sort of processes, are there any metrics or any sort of criteria that comes to your mind based on which one should decide whether this process needs to be automated or not?
Fair enough. So even from an outreach perspective, okay. So you're asking about metrics. Let me give you a small example. So today there is a very little chance that any company would have a monopoly in today's scenario. Yeah. So there are so many competitors, so many people trying to reach out to the same prospect that you are trying to reach out to. Yeah. So with that said, a generic email that you might want to do as a blast to the prospect might not work so well when compared to something that is very, very personal, because the attention span of the target audience is very, very low. So when you're talking about that, if say the whole outreach process, I'm sure from a marketing perspective, you understand, like there are drip campaigns that you guys run, and all of that is there. But how successful would it be will depend on how much of personalization is done on those campaigns that each of you are running. Yeah. So even from a personalization perspective, I'll give you a small example. I always like this example. Like think about being in a crowded street. Let's take Brigade Road or MG Road, for example, or Commercial Street. Even easier. So there are 10 people selling the same product on the same market. So in terms of so someone who's walking past all those 10 stores, maybe 10 years back, a hey from the shopkeepers would have been enough to grab the attention of the prospect. But today, after a few years, that evolved. Like the prospect might not be responding to hey. Hey, along with hey, I understand you're looking for accessories. Could have been the message that should have gone out to the prospect. And then all shopkeepers started saying that, hey, yeah, I understand they're interested in accessories. Few years down the line, that evolved. Hey, I understand you're looking for accessories for a certain function or a certain event. So you get to that granular level to get to the attention span of the audience. So that way, automating the whole thing will not help. So you'll have to automate it to a certain extent that you know that you're also trying to get the attention of the prospect in a certain way where they're interested, what they're interested in. And also, that also needs to save time for you. So you need to understand that difference between automating to a certain level and then stopping and then making sure that a personalized touch is there in terms of outreach.
Sure. Okay. Before I move on to the next question, just a reminder to the audience, if you all have questions, keep them coming. And we would love to know what are some of the processes that you are automating in your organization, because in that way, we can elaborate more on those areas, right? So if you have any processes that you are automating currently, we'd love to hear about that. In the meantime, I'm moving forward with my next question, which is, now let's talk about productivity. How does automation affect productivity of sales reps? How much time can a sales rep essentially save with automation?
Fair enough. So in terms of productivity, let's think about the number of people that let's start from the top of the funnel, which is some people don't even consider this top of the funnel, but according to me, it starts off with the MRE team itself. There is a market research team that every sales org has. That helps you with sourcing leads, and then it comes down to maybe the SDRs or directly to the account executives. So starting off from the MRE team itself. So in terms of the whole automation process, so maybe 5-6 years down the line, the whole MRE team were going into every lead and trying to source prospects for you in terms of their contact details and email addresses, phone numbers, all of that. But today, there are so many ways in which that process can be automated. So all they need to do is identify the TAM and then get into those tools, specific tools that will help them automate the whole process. So maybe what they could have sourced for like 50 prospects in a week's time, today they can do about 500 prospects. So that trickles down to the whole sales function, right? So that trickles down the whole funnel. So that means the number of people that the SDRs or AEs can reach out to also increases. So that in a way helps build a bigger pipe for your entire organization. So that kind of things will always help with productivity. But again, like I always emphasize on automations, but also automations in moderation, where you know that not everything gets automated. Like again, the call has to be made. So for that, you don't want anything else to be done apart from a human sitting there and calling people, because that's the way. Most times people buy for people. The product definitely needs to be there, but the relationship that you build with your prospects end up making the sale go in your way. So it does help with productivity, but also automation done in moderation will help.
Okay. And I see some questions are coming in, so I will take them up, pause my questions for a second and take these up. So Prasun wants to know, what according to you are the key differences we should keep in mind while making processes pertaining to inside sales as compared to conventional sales?
All right. So again, it depends on your industry, right? So today, if you're looking at SaaS specific, yeah. So today you can be in a country like India, and then you can sell into global markets. You can sell into US, you can sell into Australia, you can sell into Singapore, all of that. But if you are from a conventional business, like which is manufacturing, so then you need to be, or you're exporting something like leather garments. So you need to be there in the market to actually talk to your customers. So that way, processes when it comes to inside sales as compared to conventional sales depends on your industry predominantly. If you're selling software, it kind of makes it easier for you to sell from anywhere. And then the complete process is changed, because mostly you're going to be selling through Zoom calls, emails, phones, and text messages also sometimes work. But when you're talking about these conventional businesses where you need to, your prospect needs to get the feel of the product. Obviously, you're not going to sell a machine or a leather garment or any other garment just conversing over a Zoom call or a phone, because the prospect has to feel the product. So that way, then the whole sales processes and what comes along with those processes will completely change. So again, the industry makes a big difference in terms of what kind of processes you need to be. But the sale process is it's like that is defined. So you still need to build a relationship. That is going to be basic in terms of any industry. So, but apart from that, how you build that relationship will make a big difference.
Right. So, and so I'm gonna button here and ask a very basic question. And I know, because I know that automation has been around for a while, but just for the benefit of the audience, Sandeep, if you can share a few activities that can be automated, and I think that is something that the audience could relate to. What are the top, I don't know, 5 activities that you can think of perhaps that can be easily automated?
So in today's scenario, like how I said, the MRE function to a certain extent can definitely be automated. Yeah.
Mhm.
And apart from that, when you're talking about the actual sales process that happens, I'm going to talk about SaaS sales because I've got expertise in that. So when it comes to the outbound or the inbound or any sales process that your organization has, so we're talking about today engagement metrics. Engagement becomes very, very important in sales. So you might be reaching out to about 40, 50 prospects on a day-to-day basis. But what happens after you reach out to them? How are you going to understand how much each prospect has engaged with you? So for that, automations really, really help. So what you can do is there are tools in the market that help you identify what these prospects have done to the message you've sent. You could have sent them an email, or you could have sent them a text message. So it really tells your salesperson that okay, so this person out of the 40 or 50 prospects you reached out to, 20 or 30 have actually engaged a lot more. So what you can do is you can automatically prioritize those prospects. So that function can be completely automated. And the most important automation that needs to be done from a sales perspective is updating your CRM. Because any process that doesn't add a lot of value to the salesperson and then takes his or her time off than actual selling, those things definitely need to be automated. So updating a CRM, it can be done automatically, right? Like there are tools that help you with it, or even the basics of basic CRMs help you in terms of updating the CRM. So that process definitely needs to be automated, because today that's not going to add a lot of value to the sales process. It gives you metrics and all of that, but I strongly believe that a salesperson's time should be spent more in terms of going there out selling to people or talking to people, rather than sitting there and updating your CRM. So that definitely needs to be on top of any list in terms of automations. So if you're an early stage startup, or even if you're a company that has been in the industry for quite a few years, make sure that your salespeople are not manually doing any work in terms of updating the CRM.
Yeah. In fact, Sai has a question here, and I think we can add to it. And Deepak, I think we need an elaboration on your question. Sandeep, if you can see it, he says, "Is Google Workspace good for sales and business automation?" I'm not clear about the question, but feel free to.
Like there are multiple aspects of Google Workspace, Deepak. So I'm not too sure which one you're talking about, sales and business automation, because definitely Google helps you in a lot of ways. Even if you're talking about, but I really not sure of what aspect of Google Workspace you mean for sales and business automation. So I'm not really in a capacity to answer the question. I'm so sorry about that.
Sure. So, Deepak, I think if you can just elaborate on that question, that would help us. In the meantime, Sai's question is, how can you measure effectiveness of automation beyond the prospect intent, opens, and clicks?
All right. So in terms of that, Sai, so the opens and clicks are just indicators, yeah? So whatever so replies are the easiest to find intent. So I'm not going to go into that. It clearly tells you whether the prospect is interested or not. And the opens and clicks are the subtle hints that your prospects are giving. So again, so when it comes to automation, that can help you understand the intent to a certain extent. Like how I told you, each of you might have been reaching out to about 40 to 50 prospects, out of which 20 to 30 have maybe opened or clicked on your email multiple times. So that you can take as a cue, but you should always ensure, so people might say that cold calling is dead. I don't think cold calling is dead. Today, cold calling has evolved into something that is a little more a process which is that people are actually expecting you to call in a certain way. So all these subtle hints you get with regards to even opens and clicks will help you identify the prospects that you can actually call. So you still need to make those calls, Sai. So if I can give you an example, so like how you would have sent an email to your prospect, I'm sure there are 10 other people who have reached out to them over emails or LinkedIn, but the key differentiator is in fact making that call. So these opens and clicks will help you identify whom to call, but please pick up the phone and make that call. But this is just an indicator of whom to call. So it's just narrowing down your list. Out of the 40, you know that the 20 have opened or clicked on email multiple times. So you know you need to get after these 20 prospects first, rather than trying to shoot in the dark, try to get to all 40 at the same time. So this will just help you prioritize the whole prospect list. But still, cold calling is not dead. Cold calling is just evolved. Pick up your phone and call these prospects who opened and clicked on the email multiple times.
Absolutely. Ramesh, before I move on to your question, I am going to dive into mine because I think there are certain similarities there. So, at what stage, Sandeep, should a business invest in sales and marketing automation?
Being a sales leader, I will be very biased when I say right from day one, they should start investing in sales automations, because there can be some processes that take away your time unnecessarily, right? So why should we invest? Like how I said, updating CRM. Why should any salesperson sit and manually update their CRM? So why should the MRE team manually sit and go through the list of thousands of prospects and trying to get their contact details manually? If the sales team can invest in those tools, and if they have the money to invest in those tools and get it done faster, they're going to have faster results which they can see from those activities. So I'm saying it's not like there is a timeline, because I'm a sales leader. I'm being very biased. I'm saying that right from day one, automations are needed, and I don't see why it should be delayed in any aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably chip in here. I can tell you, I've worked at LeadSquared for a while. We didn't have automation the whole time, but the day automation came in, we saw the difference. I mean, in terms of manual effort, the number of things that you can automate now versus the number of things you couldn't earlier, right? It saves time, obviously, and that time you can spend doing other things. So yeah, even for me, I'm on the same page there. But coming back to Ramesh's question here, he says on a scale of 1 to 10, if need and necessity for sales and automation scores 8 for B2C, what in your estimate would be the score for B2B sales?
20, even more, even more. because I'll tell you why. Because so what does it change from a B2C or a B2B? The sales process is still the same. So I don't see because in B2B the space sometimes it gets even more crowded. At least for the SaaS industry you're talking about, I think the automations are absolutely necessary for sales processes. So and I've personally felt the difference in terms of like how Shibani mentioned in my previous organizations. There were a certain point in time where there were a lot of processes that are still done manually. Like a small example could be sending out a proposal. We could take about 1.5 hours of our time trying to get a proposal done. But if that whole process, once it got automated, where it was all just a click of a button, and then there's a tool that is helping you get the whole proposal done in like 10 minutes, then think about the time. So you had a call with the prospect, and the prospect is sending a proposal, and in 20 minutes the prospect has the proposal. So think about the wow experience you can create by automating a lot of processes. It's just not efficiency from your side, right? It also helps you come across as an organization that is reacting to the prospects faster. So that way, it's definitely needed. It's like a no-go now.
Yeah, I'll chip in with another example here. So, at LeadSquared, if someone is looking at our pricing page, the lead owner will automatically get a notification saying, hey, so and so is looking at the pricing page, and then the sales guy can reach out to him or her immediately. So it just saves time and helps prioritize your work and makes life easier at the end of the day. Okay. Now Kalpesh has a question, or is this a comment? I haven't read it yet. The sales process is the same, but the number of leads will be lesser compared to B2C. So If we miss something in B2C, we lose less, but here in B2B, we lose a lot more. That's the reason. So, okay. Right. So,
Definitely, Kalpesh. That's why I gave it a 20 or 10.
okay. So now, so back in the day when we did an automation webinar, there was a strange question that came up, Sandeep, about will robots replace humans? So the next question is kind of similar to that. So will automations impact the personal touch or personalization in sales?
We run that risk all the time. Yeah. So because we are so used to doing things at the click of a button, it's a very human behavior to say that, okay, if I get this done, then I think X results will be there. We always run that risk. As sales folks, salespeople want, we are very finicky creatures. Salespeople are very, very finicky creatures.
Yes, I know.
So, so we want everything at a click of a button. And so with that said, what happens sometimes is, even when you're sending out emails, like how I mentioned earlier, when that personal touch is not there, you kind of get lost in the crowd. But it's not until a quarter or two later that you realize that, oh, we didn't personalize enough, that we've not got enough responses because our prospects are not responding to these generic messages that we are sending out. So I think there needs to be always a check in place to ensure that we are not relying too much on automations, at least from the outreach perspective, even from the other processes, like how I'm saying, even the lead sourcing level. Yeah, you might be pushing out like a lot of leads that you're getting from the MRE team, but end of the day, if there is no check on the quality of data that comes in, they might just be doing the automation and then getting your data to your sales team, and they might be doing their process, but end of the day, the results might not be in favorable of what you want it to be. So that way, I think there needs to be a check at every process to make sure that even though there are automations, but we also need to make sure that the quality doesn't take a hit. So when it comes to personalization, even from a lead sourcing level to the outreach level, to make sure that whatever is being done, if there is no, the prospects are not responding, or the prospects are not giving the enough attention that you want for the content or whatever you're sending out to the prospects, then again, your process needs to be reworked upon. And then end of the day, that personalization needs to be brought into the picture. Otherwise, today, not only us, not only salespeople, like even the prospects are very choosy, right? Like they're very, very choosy in terms of whom they want to engage with and what content they want to engage with. So that way, you need to be very reactive to what the market is asking for. Otherwise, you're going to be losing to 9 other people. You might not even realize it until it's too late. So make sure that that level of personalization is there, and there are checks in place to ensure that the automations are not getting you carried away with the ease of work that it brings to the table. Because results also are very, because a sales process is a black or a white, right? There's no gray area in sales, whether you hit your numbers or not hit your numbers. So end of the day, that also needs to be taken care of.
So how does one find that balance between automation and personalization in sales?
Again, the results will tell you. Yeah. So one is, so you can automate process, like how I said, you can do it in multiple ways. But if you're not connecting with your audience, if you're not able to get their interest in any way, that itself is a cue that what you've done is not working. So you could have got like 1,000 leads in a month, but you keep calling those 1,000 prospects, and then if all of the numbers are not right, then that means that automation did not work. The process itself is failing somewhere. Similarly, when you're reaching out to people, you could be sending out hundreds of emails to multiple prospects. But if they're not responding to it, if they're not opening it, they're not even clicking on it, they're not even responding to you, then that means there's something that the message, either you need to check the message. There could be multiple things, like either the mail is not even reaching your prospect. That is the first level that you need to check. Or if it's reaching your prospect and they're not responding to it, then you need to check the message itself. Ensure that enough priority is given for the whole customization and personalization of content that you're sending to your prospects, so that it's relatable. Yeah. So make sure that whatever you're doing is relatable, and then that will ensure that you're getting enough results. If not, go back to the drawing board, check what you're doing. If somewhere there's a leak in the system, even though that we're talking about automation, sometimes we can get complex in saying that, okay, this process is set, right? So we don't have to look into it. Maybe there's a leak. Go back and check into that and see if that leak can be properly plugged so that everything is going the right way.
Sure. That brings me to Pranay's question. Pranay Roy, is that the NDTV news editor? Sorry. Okay, Pranay's question is, what are the metrics one needs to measure to understand the automation process is effective?
So yeah, so like how I answered that earlier, so I think it's a repeat of that. Yeah. So you need to have checks in place for every process. Yeah. If you're talking about in terms of the MRE process, MRE function, and if they are giving you 1,000 leads, I understand today's any lead sourcing tool will not be able to be 100% accurate, but at least if it's 60 to 70% accurate in terms of data, then you got to win there. But if that data is only like 40 or 50%, then you have to go back and visit the tools that you're using or the data you're getting from a source you're getting the data from. And again, coming from the sales process perspective, if you don't have enough engagement, if you don't have enough responses, if the prospects are not reacting to your content you're sending, if there are no enough opens, enough clicks are not there, enough replies are not there, or if there are a lot of bounces in terms of your emails you're sending. So sometimes we have this thing of sending attachments in an email, or even a very good example today is the times have changed, right? So today most of us are checking emails on phones. So even if the email is slightly longer, people are not going to react to it. So if there is just one swipe down that people have to go through the entire email, they don't have the patience. They might say, okay, let me get back to it at a later point in time, and then that get back to it at a later point in time rarely ever happens. So that way, you need to make sure that your content is in place. You can help us take the help of your content team to ensure that your emails are crisp and concise, where it fits the size of your phones, so that it's not taking too much of your attention span of the prospect. It needs to have enough content, because you can send long emails, no doubt, but that has to be once you've engaged with your prospects enough for them to actually go through the entire material. But otherwise, if you're sending out first cold emails and all that, make sure that your content is crisp and concise enough so that it doesn't take too much of time for them to actually go through that. And if not, you're going to lose the interest and the attention span of your prospect.
Okay. Now I see that attendees are becoming more specific. So what are the certain processes you would recommend to automate for the edtech industry, B2C?
I'm very, very not sure of this, because I've worked mostly with a B2B segment. Mm-hmm. But if you can let me know, like, what aspects of the automation that you want for an edtech industry from a sales perspective or a marketing perspective, it'll help me at least answer the question to a certain extent. So I'd like to understand a little bit that in detail, so that I'll be able to help from very limited knowledge I have of the edtech industry.
I will chip in here. I think some of the things that quickly come on the top of my head are, of course, lead capture, where you're capturing your prospect inquiries from, automate that process. You would want to automate the distribution process. So, which counselor or which salesperson, whatever works for your organization, who calls them up, post that inquiry. That is a process you can automate. Of course, emails, as Firoz has said, emails another aspect you can automate, and we will send you an email about all the other aspects you can automate for sure. We will do our due diligence there as people from marketing, but yeah, we will share a few more, I think, ideas with you. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, which is why I'm restricting myself, but okay. Jitu has the next question. He says, how many email follow-ups should we send to a prospect? See, in my opinion, I will say 3. I'm in marketing, so I will restrict myself to 3. But Sandeep, let's hear from you.
All right, Jitu. So any cold outreach that they're doing, Jitu. So I personally, what I've done is I've restricted myself to 7 or 8 touch points. When I say 7 or 8 touch points, it includes emails, phone calls, LinkedIn reach outs, all of that. But usually the industry tells you that, at least the SaaS industry tells you that have at least 11 to 12 touch points per prospect. Beyond that, if you're not getting a response, that means that the prospect is definitely not interested in hearing you out, or at least exploring what you're trying to sell. So when I say, just from my personal experience, 7 to 8 has helped, where there'll be about 3 to 4 phone calls, and then there'll be about 3 emails that I'm sending, and then there'll be 1 or 2 LinkedIn touch points in different combinations. But usually what people say is about 4 to 5 phone calls, and then about 3 to 4 emails, and then 3 to 4 touch points on LinkedIn and other mediums of communication as well. So from my perspective, I would say about 3 emails to 4 emails is ideal, apart from the phone calls and the LinkedIn touch points you would be doing. But people say that sometimes 4 to 5 emails also work. But beyond 12 touch points, even from an industry standpoint, don't do, because it'll be like you're bombarding someone who's not interested with content that'll create like a negative impression of your brand to the prospect.
Sure.
And give it like a cool off period as well. Like if you've touched someone 12 times in a month or 45 days, give it like at least 4 to 5 months before you actually go back to them again and ask them for another opportunity. So
yeah, and I would suggest also, sharing content that would be useful for them. Let's say, a case study of a company similar to theirs and how they could do something, a free ebook maybe. So things like that, and basically space it out. Even if you want to spend more than 4 emails, I think space it out. That's the main thing. Now, moving on to my next question is, will there be time when we will rely too much on automation that we will not be able to undo?
that's a yes and a no. So today, there are certain functions that you might get used to so much that you don't want to do it again manually. One could be like, the example of one could be like updating your CRM. Who wants to go back to manually updating a CRM? And similarly, again, if the function is not working, certain automations are not working, again, you'll have to revisit the whole thing. Just by sending automated emails to someone, if it's not working, then you need to revisit those processes. But again, why I said it's a yes and a no, simply because if something is working well using an automation, then stick to it. You will have to not go back on it. But if it's not giving you the desired results, go back to the drawing board again and see what can be done better. So again, it depends on what results the automation brings to the table. Is it adding to any efficiency in the system? Is it adding to a lot of results that you want that to go your way? If it's not, then again, go back to the drawing board and see if things need to be changed and done a little differently, rather than just automating it for the heck of it.
Okay. Now, Sandeep, maybe getting a little personal with this question. So does automation in sales assist in building a strong pipeline and lead to more closures? And when I say closures, I mean, is there any name that you can share, or any example that has taken place because of automation? Because automation was there, it led to that.
Absolutely right. So today there are multiple things that can be done. So even someone visiting your website, yeah. So earlier there was a time when there was no chat at all on your website. Today multiple brands having a chat icon on the website, but there was a time when there was no chat itself. So then they moved to a situation where a chat was installed, and then a person was actually sitting behind the chat and having a conversation. And then today it's moved on to a situation where there is no human interaction at all. Everything is handled by a bot. Everything is handled by a algorithm that just tells you that click on this, and then you'll be shown different things. In fact, the whole shopping experience itself is done by a bot. Like it identifies what pages you're on, and then gives them the exact message that needs to be given. All of that is done. So that accelerates the whole sales process for even for a B2C brand. Like imagine I'm on an e-commerce website, and then depending on how much time I've stayed on a page, how much time I've looked at a product, based on that, a different message is given to me by the bot. Even from a human sales perspective, today the systems are so powerful that it tells me which prospect I need to go after first, at what point in time. It tells me how many times they've opened the email, how much they've engaged with my content. All of that is served to the salesperson in a platter, right? So with that, so much intel available, and there are so many tools, intelligent tools in the market that also tells you when someone's contracts are going to be up for renewal. Yeah. All that information is available to you readily, and it's all just a click of a button. So today, like how it was like in traditional times when the salesperson had to do a lot of research to actually get things done going their way. Today, it's not so difficult. Like the automations help you in a lot of ways, be it for an e-commerce brand or a B2B brand. It all helps you accelerate the whole sales process. So that helps you build a bigger pipeline. It helps you take you to a lot of closures. I might not even be thinking about buying a product, but then the messages that gets sent across to me are so compelling sometimes that I'll be like, okay, let me just buy it. Maybe it's just the company's way of doing it, but it definitely helps. It definitely helps and accelerate the whole sales process.
So I think I know the answer to my next question. Can automation help businesses increase customer lifetime value?
No, absolutely right. So today when we're talking about customer lifetime value, it also tells you about how much money they're getting in terms of ROI and all of that. Mm-hmm. So today the systems are so powerful that it tells you exactly how the customers, it gives you intel in terms of how they've used the system, and based on that you can go back to your customer and engage with them saying, hey, listen, this is something that you can change in the whole process so that it adds more value to what you're doing, what you're investing with us today. So that kind of messaging can be definitely sent to the customer. Earlier we didn't have that. In earlier times we didn't have that luxury of identifying what customers, how they were using it and all of that. But today, with so many tools in place, you tell the customer that, okay, X needs to be changed so that this can be a better return on investment for you, and also retain the customer with you for a longer period of time, because you're giving them value for money, because today all customers are looking for value for money. And if you're able to deliver that to the customer, that's why today customer success teams are doing quarterly business reviews for each of their customers, so that they'll be able to tell them, okay, this is what you've done in the last quarter. That does not have to be done by the customer anymore. Actually, the person who's selling the product itself is actually having a team that will help them with that value and help them retain the customers for a longer period of time.
Sure, absolutely. With that, I have come to a close with my questions at least. If there's anything else from the audience, please do share it while we still have some time. Okay, we do. So Firoz has a new question. He says, how tough do you think it would be to move an organization or industry following a conventional sales method? Great question, by the way. Knocking on doors, manual databases into the new age of automation and CRM, etc.
Sorry, I didn't get that, Shivani. Sorry, I didn't get that question.
Yeah. It's on the questions tab and I put it on the screen. How tough do you think it would be to move an organization following a conventional sales method into the new age automation and CRM?
It again depends on your end customer, right? Like how I told you today, if your end customers, your prospects have moved to a digital medium, then it's ideal that you also move to the digital medium. But if they have not moved, if they're still a brick and mortar company, then you ought to go back to your drawing board and do the door-to-door selling. But if your customer has moved to a digital medium, then it's ideal that you also have to move where your customer is. So that it really depends on your customer and depends on where they are present. So, yeah.
Okay. Pranay has another question. A very basic question. How does one differentiate a CRM and a sales engagement platform?
Right. So again, today CRMs and sales engagement platforms are considered synonyms, but they are actually not. Consider going to a doctor. Yeah, you might have a health issue, but then you can go to a general physician for certain things, and then they'll be able to help you to a certain extent. But consider a specialist where you have a heart problem, and then you have to go to a cardiologist. Similarly, if you're looking for a tool of action where you want to perform certain things like calling, emailing, and sequencing, and all of that, along with the engagement metrics. So sales engagement platform becomes like a tool of action, whereas CRM is where you handle the relationship of the prospect. If I have to put it in terms of functions, think about anything that happens before an opportunity is identified will happen on a sales engagement platform. But once an opportunity is identified, it becomes a deal, then it moves over to a CRM where you start tracking things from a deal perspective. So that's the basic difference from a CRM and a sales engagement platform. It works hand in hand. Sales engagement platform sits on top of a CRM, and then it helps. So there is a data sync in most sales engagement platforms you take today will sync into CRMs, and then all data is synced into the CRM, so that CRM also becomes a single tool of repository for your entire organization.
Okay. When we have a larger funnel, observing the activities of leads like open and clicks becomes difficult. So how to prioritize leads within a larger lead funnel?
That's why there are specific tools like sales engagement platform that helps you. It kind of identifies what your engagement has been in terms of opens and clicks and all of that, based on which you can set up certain automations in the system so that it helps you identify those leads or prospects who are very much interested, rather than trying to find out, going manually one by one and finding out. The system itself throws out those options for you, so that it makes shooting at the target for your sales folks a lot more easier. So that's why having the right tools in place will help you manage those larger funnels we're talking about, and help you identify and zero down on the prospects that are engaging with you a lot more.
Okay, I'll move to the question tab because I see, that's my favorite question, clearly. Are there agencies who help sales process through automation, LeadSquared? But I'll let Sandeep take that up.
There are quite a few agencies that help you through sales processes and automations. So yeah, like how Shibari mentioned, LeadSquared is there helping you with the processes. So again, even if you take some of the other players in the market, there are a lot of agencies that help you set up those automations. But some companies like LeadSquared and Outlay, we help you with them in-house. We have our own teams that help you set it up right from scratch. We understand your sales processes, we understand your functions, and based on which we help you with the automations in the systems.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, I hope everyone has responded to the poll questions. If not, please do respond to the poll questions. We are creating a report of sorts, and your contribution to that will go a long way. I don't see anything more coming in as of now. So I think we are at a close. Yeah, looks like we're good. Sandeep, any closing thoughts, any closing lines, anything you'd like to say to the attendees here to entice them to, choose automation?
Definitely choose automation. Definitely today, identify what is not adding efficiency to your system because it's done manually today, and then identify those functions. But be very careful because you might run the risk of automating certain things that needs that human intervention. But automations are definitely needed in sales functions. So make sure that you're reviewing every process and then getting the automation set up for, it might be a little more expensive, but then in the long run, in terms of your the ROI that you get by automating processes is a lot more. So think about this as a long-term game, and then invest in tools that will help you with the process and make your life a little more easier. Make life easier for your sales folks as well, because they're the ones who are the ones who are running the show for the entire organization, right? So make sure that it makes life easier for them when you're identifying a process that needs to be automated.
Yes,
But definitely, cold calling is still not dead. I would say that even today, even for our sales organization, 44% of the opportunities are created through cold calling. So make sure that you're picking up the phone. That I don't think needs to be automated yet.
yeah. Yes, Alok, absolutely. B2C automation is possible. Yeah. Cool. With that, we're at a close. Thank you so much, Sandeep, for your time and for sharing your expertise with our audience today. We'd love to have you back again at some point, to hear more and maybe have a wider discussion with other panelists.
Definitely, Shivani. Thank you very much for having me on this, and thank you very much for the audience to have had the patience to listen to whatever I said so far.
Yeah, I'm sure they loved it. I will quickly take this opportunity to sort of promote the last two sessions left for the week, which is tomorrow and day after. So tomorrow you learn about how to achieve your sales goals with productivity tracking. So you learned about automation today. Tomorrow it's all about tracking that productivity. And finally, on Friday, we will learn about Amazon's famous customer backward approaches with Vijay Rajagopal, and tomorrow it's with Rohit Gupta. So with that, I think we come to a close. Thank you so much, Sandeep. Hope to see you again on this platform at another time.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Everyone
Bye-bye.
in the audience, thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.